faith is not a personal thing. There's no this idea that, you keep your faith out of conversation, at work. It's integrated into culture, into life.
Is it okay to not share broadly that I've turned to faith?
It's common, not just for a new believer, believe me, it's what someone who's been Christian for decades feels. There's always a fear of judgment. But in terms of faith being personal and therefore feeling sacred, I think it's important to push back a little bit on the assumption, because that's a very Western assumption. The Western assumption is that faith and politics are very personal things and keep it to yourself. That's actually very Western, particularly the faith one. You go to many other countries, especially countries that are quite religious, not Christian, but just religious, say an Islamic country. Faith is not a personal thing. There's no this idea that, you keep your faith out of conversation, at work. It's integrated into culture, into life. That idea that faith is a personal, private thing, that's a very Western post-Enlightenment way that we've kind of sectioned off faith into this private sphere of opinion, and then there's the objective sphere of everything else, and faith, and that should never touch. So I think we need to see that that's a particular post-Enlightenment, modern and postmodern Western thing that doesn't exist in many places around the world. And so once you understand that, it may actually be a little bit more natural to think, well, there's no reason why my faith has to be more private, or it's more sacred because it's private, any more than my love for my children. So I think one of the most wonderful things is becoming a father, right? I love my kids. Now, do I go and tell everyone that I meet that I've got 4 kids and that I love them dearly? No. It doesn't mean I'm ashamed or trying to hide it. It's just there are circumstances, there are certain social interactions. The guy at the chicken shop, if I'm just buying chicken, there's no occasion for that to happen. But there are many circumstances where I will drop quite naturally that I'm a father of 4 kids. And then other circumstances, I will actually feel like I want to say more than just I'm a father of 4 kids, that I actually love my children and they're the greatest miracle and the most wonderful blessing in my life, And I think faith should be in that category. Like when I drop the idea of my kids being wonderful and just such a blessing in my life, there's something sacred about that. Now, I don't say it like that to everyone. An acquaintance, I may not. But someone who I'm really trying to enter into friendship and relationship with, I will. Because my kids are important to me. And I'm enormously proud of them. And it is sacred, but just because it's sacred doesn't mean I keep it private. Because there are certain relationships where that kind of conversation just feels right. Now, I think faith belongs in that category. This relationship with God, this new walk with Jesus, is not something that you have to tell everyone. And it's not something that you tell everyone equally. It should be with at least a good number of people, acquaintances even, something that you won't be afraid to just naturally drop. Like when someone says, "What'd you do on the weekend?" to say, "Hey, I went to church. It's what I do on Sundays." That can be a big step for some people. But actually that should be natural. Just as much as, I went to the footy, or I went to, or I spent time with my family having dinner. But you may not take it beyond that. That's just kind of like, this is just integrated into my life. I shouldn't keep it personal or private just because it's a faith thing. Again, that assumption that faith has to be private is, I think that's an assumption we can challenge. Having said that though, there's only going to be, a smaller circle of people that you will actually be more open and share the wonder of your faith, or the sacredness of what you feel is sacred and beautiful about your faith, in the same way that there's potentially only a few people that you will tell how much you love your kids and how wonderful it is to have children, but you won't hold it back just because you're ashamed. In fact, you actually want them to know because it says something about you. It's not about, at that point, it's not about, trying to convince them of anything, like as if I want them to see my kids as wonderful too. Not necessarily. This is just part of me sharing what's important to me. And sharing about your faith in that kind of deeper level should first of all be about that. It's not about shoving it down anyone's throat or trying to convert someone. It's just, hey, you know what? I'm your friend. I want to get to know you better, and you know, and in every other circumstance of everything else that's important to me, I want to be open. And my faith is just something that's so important that I just, you know, it should be natural that I want to share some of that